Hi pals, John here with the Lens Power, and today we're going to look at Sony's new 70-200 2.8 version 2. Sony released their original 70-200 2.8 for E-mount about 5 years ago at this point, so arguably it was time for a refresh. Arguably. The original one drew a lot of criticism. 70-200 2.8 great focal length, but it just wasn't quite as sharp as the Nikon, Canon offerings out there. And in certain edge cases, you could argue that even Tamron and Sigma lenses were sharper, like I say, in certain circumstances. So Sony have refreshed this lens, and when you first look at it, probably the most obvious thing that jumps out is that you now have a manual aperture ring right there on the lens. This is in keeping with the GMASTER design that we've seen of late. The 50mm, the 35, the 24, they all have this nice manual aperture lens, which if you go all the way to one side, will click into that automatic mode. And in keeping with that same design, there is a declick mode as well. So for you videographers, now when you are in declick mode and you go from manual to automatic, there's a bit of resistance as you go from one to the other to let you know that you're not doing it accidentally. But to further aid in that, Sony has included, I'm just going to spin this around, an iris lock. It's this little switch here, and it took me a moment to figure out what this actually does, because I'm a guy and I don't read manuals, I'll admit it. When the iris lock is in place, you can still select your aperture here, but when you try and go from manual to automatic, it won't let you. Now if I switch the lock off, go over to automatic and put the lock back on, now I won't go out of automatic. And I say automatic as if you have no control over this. When you're in automatic mode, you actually can still use the control ring or dial or whatever it is Sony calls it. Again, I don't read manuals. That is right there on the front of the camera, or whichever dial you've set it up to, because mirrorless cameras allow you to do that. In addition to the aperture and iris controls, you also have your image stabilization, your focal locking, so you have 3 meters to infinite, or you have full. So if you know that your subject is more than 3 meters away, you can just go ahead and click that over, and that will actually eliminate a good chunk of the focal focusing range, so that it actually speeds up. It will eventually come back within that 3 meters if it doesn't notice anything, and as probably the majority of our customers watching are American, 3 meters is approximately 9 foot 9 inches. We also have a direct manual focus switch. This is a full-time switch for on or off. Now, direct manual focus, and yes, we did just have to pause to look this up. When you have DMF turned on, when you half press the shutter on your camera, the lens will automatically pick up the focal length, or rather the focusing, for whatever your focal point is over. With that still held half down and DMF active, you can actually fine tune by twisting the focus ring yourself and pick out precise focus, and then fully press and it will actually take the picture. So that's what DMF is. Next up, auto focus, manual focus switch. Hopefully that's self-explanatory. And then you have 3 focus hold buttons. Now these are sort of the opposite almost of the DMF. When you are in an autofocus mode and you half press and the camera pulls focus to that point. You also have 3 focus hold buttons or switches here. Now the focus hold works like this. If you're in an autofocus mode, you half press the shutter, keep it held there, and it will focus on your subject. And if you then press a focus hold button, the autofocus essentially is turned off and it will hold there until you either take the picture or release both and then half press the shutter release again. Now, unlike the Sigma 50 to 100 that we just had a look at in our previous video, this one has a removable tripod foot, not a full collar, just the foot, which is still an improvement over the Sigma 50 to 100, but this one does not click into place when you turn it, unlike that Sigma. So then you have to line up the dots, which it's not the hardest thing in the world. The quality of life, that improvement that would have been, you know, a little click when you get to the 90 degrees or 0 degrees would have been chef's kiss. One thing we haven't talked about yet is the fact that the original Sony 70-200 2.8 weighed in at around 1.5 kilograms, just under 1.5 kilograms, and the kilogram is 2.2 ounces, sorry, 2.2 pounds, so that means that the original one was, let's call it 3 pounds. This one comes in at just over a kilo. Sony have managed to save almost a third of the weight of the original 70-200 2.8, and it's noticeable. This actually weighs less than Canon's RF 70-200 2.8, which is a tiny little lens. But yeah, this is nice and light. It is definitely going to help if you have a long shoot. You're not going to get fatigued quite so quickly. Don't tell Liz that I just did that, okay? In terms of image quality, we're sharper. Autofocus is a little bit snappier, and it's just an overall improvement over the original 70-200. So there you have it. Sony's FE 70-200 2.8 GMASTER version 2 is available on our website right now, thelenspower.com, with rentals from 2 days all the way up to 90 days. If you've enjoyed this video, if you found it informative or helpful, if you just like the way we set up our lights, hit subscribe, tell a friend, smash a bell, share it with somebody. And until next time, happy holidays.